first time at this track in an open wheel car as well. It's a really bumpy track, right? And you got this one corner, they call it the kink, that's like 125 mile an hour flat out.
Wow.
And a suspension piece breaks and the wheel like folded under and again back into the air, launched 3 times, flipped forward, landed on the nose. It actually dug like an 18-inch hole in the ground.
Wow.
When it landed, it went back again. It landed flat, and it was kind of like lights out for a little bit. And then it came, and at that time...
Meaning you were unconscious for a minute?
For like a little bit, yeah, for a little bit. Next time I wake up, corner workers and the ambulance and whatever else. So the result of all that, aside from having a crash car shaped like a banana now, was that I actually had my prom like a week later. Wow. And you like red? My eye was like, the Terminator, man.
Bloodshot.
It was all, no, not just bloodshot. Like the whole thing was red, right?
Like the blood vessels and everything.
Yeah. So that was my prom.
Wow.
With sunglasses. It's all good.
Welcome to Mission Control. At Peralta Design, we launch brands. But for now, let's launch right into this episode.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0, and liftoff.
The president and owner of the Sports Car Driving Association, Elivan Goulart.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome. Great professional race car driver and instructor. I mean, that is like every kid's dream title to have.
It was my dream. It still is.
Awesome.
How does that even start? Like, how do you go? I feel like so many kids are like, man, I want to be a race car driver. I want to be an astronaut. And you're like, I did it. But where does that even start?
I mean, like from being a little kid, right? It's like watching TV, watching F1 back in Brazil, like I want to do that one day, That sounds pretty cool. It's like racing down the hills and having some fun. And when I'm getting to that a little bit later on, but when I moved into the U.S., I had the opportunity to start racing go-karts at the age of 12. And one thing spiraled into another, and it's a really bad addiction. But it's really good.
When you were in Brazil, were you like building your own like go-karts out of wood and spare tires and things?
Yeah, and we used to go to like the truck shops and get like the roller bearings and then put caps on it and like race it down the hill. It was pretty hardcore. It was a lot of fun. A lot of road rashes.
That's what I was gonna say.
So you've had a relationship with just going fast from the get-go.
Yeah, it's always been in there, right?
Yeah.
And then after coming here, kind of doors opened up and was able to get that opportunity to do more with it.
Yeah. So what part of Brazil were you from?
I was from Minas Gerais. It's kind of more like central, Brazil. Like 12 hours from Rio, north of that. So it's kind of...
so you're kind of inland.
It's a little more remote. Yeah, a little more on the inland side, 3 hours probably from the coast.
So as a kid, this was like just being out in the wild, basically having fun on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, pretty poor, coming out, just, unpaved roads, not a super, affluent area whatsoever, especially in Brazil being a third world country, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because back there, we're always like 20 years behind whatever happened in the U.S., right? Like product-wise and all that, and then that gap's closed now. But it just always messing around with something to go fast, and bicycles, making some jumps, and whether it be, but it was a good time. It had great childhood memories.
Yeah, and what was it like? How old were you when you came to the U.S.?
So I was 12 years old. So I was 12 years old. Didn't speak a single word of English. Then that was like 4th, 5th grade time frame. So that was a bit of a challenge in itself. And then just very fortunate that, my mom got us out here, and then my stepdad kind of helped take over from there and, grew up to who I am today.
Yeah.
Raise my kids.
And then the go-karts, are you talking about the ones that you kind of see like on the side of the road where you can like pay a few bucks and drive around a track, or something different?
Yeah, no, completely different. So they're like purpose-built race cars, right? So my stepdad's always involved in racing even from his dad. So it's like we're like 4th generation. So we got involved into that, but they're like purpose-built go-karts for a racetrack, and they're doing like 60, 70 miles an hour, and you're like an inch off the ground. Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. Fairly equally matched. and you thought I was crazy, you should
Yeah.
watch some of these guys. You know?
Yeah. So how much of that is so going fast, right? And even having gone to one of your events, just because you have the faster car doesn't mean you can actually go faster, you know, based on how you drive it.
True.
And
Yeah.
how much of it is like, you know, I always hear drivers talk about being on the limit, right? And that's how you know you're getting the maximum out of the car, being on the limit. Is that just a thing that you feel, right? Is that more of like a gut feeling of when you take a turn, when you're accelerating out of it, you knowing you're on the limit? Is that a thing you feel, or is that a thing, technical readouts, more like telemetry? Like how much of that is
So the whole telemetry and data, that's all for like after the fact. But
You're
you
not
have
looking
to,
at that
you have
while
to
you're
trust
going.
the seat of the pants,
True.
right? That feel. And simulators, they're getting better with that, but it's still not, you know, what you would feel in a real car
Like
in
feeling
real
one
time.
with the car. kind
Yeah,
of a
you
thing.
know, a little patch of wet spot here and there, a little bit of sand, whatever it is. So that limit is what you got to find by the seat of your pants, you know, and that's you got to develop that. You certainly develop it, but some people just have a better, you know, natural
Yeah.
talent for that.
Yeah.
I guess
Any
others-
room to daydream while you're, you know, you
No.
ever find your mind
No.
wandering?
No, there's no wandering. Right?
Yeah.
When you're in it, you better be paying attention, right?
200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you know, I think what really keeps people engaged in wanting to come back into doing driving, whether it be a driving event or even just a race, right? Is once you're there and you're doing it, and especially if you're doing it at the right level and at a high level, you think about nothing else.
Right.
There's nothing else going on in your world except for that.
Right.
You know, your 100% focus is doing that.
Right.
You
That's how I feel about golf. It's a lot safer. Are there particular brands that you feel like are superior, or is it like in some industries where it's all made at the same place, but then the brands come in and they're just kind of like, it's almost like white labeling. But do you feel that in the race car industry there are brands that are safer or faster or better?
Yeah, I mean, there's always some sort of brand that you trust a little more,
Okay.
like on your steering wheel, for example, or brand of tires. Tires is a tricky one because you're always kind of limited to what you can run at a given series. But there are certain things that you gravitate towards. Like all my safety gear, I tend to go with Sparkle. You know, they supported me all the time. It works, you know, and it fits right. So they've always been pretty good to me in that.
And you had some close calls with that gear.
Yeah, I mean a little bit here and there, but nothing really terrible, you know. Not crazy up in smokes, you know.
Yeah.
But from other people, I've seen they work. I don't want to be that guinea pig.
If you've got an innovation that you want to bring to the world, the first step is making sure you've got a great domain name. Visit shop.spacehost.pro to grab your domain name today and begin your new venture and your new business. Shop.spacehost.pro.
Tell us a little bit about this track experience back in 2002 where you went airborne.
Oh man, we're going way back here now.
Yeah.
So I was racing Formula cars back in the day, and that was for my second championship in that class. And I was racing against a competitor, and you can't see right in front of you. So way down there's a yellow flag.
Now, Formula means your helmet is sticking out of the car? kind
Yeah,
of?
exactly. Yep,
Okay.
just like F1 style
Yeah,
cars, right?
yeah.
F1 style cars. We're going down the straight. This is probably about $130, and this competitor that was in the lead, I was in second. He saw yellow way down. Instead of like going and kind of giving a little more heads up before slowing down, he just lifted off the gas.
Oh, shit. And
Yeah.
that made him, like,
Yeah,
come
it
at
fell
you.
back,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like 2 inches away from him, right? So like no time to react. I just had enough to like pull over to the right a little bit, but then that got my left front wheel over his right rear wheel.
Oh, boy. And,
And
then
it-
it's moving. So
And then it moved, yeah. It just launched you. You launching brands, I'm launching cars, man. so I launch up into the air.
Oh, my God.
And now I'm like with this dilemma, like, what do I do, right? Like I'm like way up in the air. This is for the championship, running second. I'm like, I'm really screwed at this point now. My options are just let it happen or hunker down
did
and
your
try to
life
save
flash before your eyes? Or
it just all got quiet.
Yeah.
It was like super quiet,
It's
right?
like slow motion.
It's totally slow motion, super quiet. It's like I felt like I had all the time in the world to think about what to do, right? But I'm like, I hope it doesn't end soon because I got to do something, right? so I'm like up in the air and like looking up at the sky. It's a beautiful blue sky that day. And I'm like, do I hit the brakes? Do I go? I'm like, full gas. So full gas. So when I landed,
Literally hit the ground running.
it'll hit the ground running,
Yeah.
like, and it's skidded back and forth a little bit, and then it straightened itself out.
Oh shit.
And I saved it. This is like right before braking zone. It kept going. So now my wheels all messed up because when I went over his wheels, like the wheels like cocked to the right all the way, like 90 degrees. And there's like 2 laps to go. I'm like, I got to hang on to this lead. I was able to drive the car and finish off the race and win the championship.
Wow.
So that was a
That's
pretty,
incredible.
that was a pretty wild one. Yeah, I remember that. So this is actually kind of funny because first time at this track in an open wheel car as well. It's a really bumpy track, right? And this is my 4th or 5th lap ever at the track.
Yeah.
And you got this one corner, they call it the kink, that's like 125 mile an hour flat out.
Wow.
And a suspension piece breaks. And the wheel like folded under. And again, back into the air, launched 3 times, flipped forward, landed on the nose. It actually dug like an 18-inch hole in the ground.
Wow.
When it landed, it went back again. It landed flat. And it was kind of like lights out for a little bit. And then it came and at that time...
Meaning you were unconscious for a minute.
For like a little bit, yeah, for a little bit. Next time I wake up, corner workers and the ambulance and whatever else. So the result of all that, aside from having a crash car shaped like a banana now, was that I actually had my prom like a week later. Wow. And you like red, my eye was like, the Terminator, man. It was like it was all, no, not just bloodshot, like the whole thing was red,
like
right?
like the blood vessels and everything.
Yeah, so that was my prom.
Wow.
With sunglasses. It's all good.
But it's cool. I mean, how cool is it? How'd that happen? Well, I was racing a car.
Yeah.
I'm a race car driver.
It's made for a good story, I guess, right?
So
I always wanted to do something with cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I went to college, got a degree. I actually went to college for accounting, so I have an accounting degree. Had a job
That's
offer.
a secret identity.
That's amazing. Accountant.
Never knew.
Like, who would have ever
He's
known?
like this nerdy guy with a suitcase, and then like he
Showing
comes
up,
out, he goes into the phone booth, comes out with a race car outfit.
Yeah, yeah. So this sport is so addicting that full time job offer coming out of college. I'm like, I can't really do this. It's just thanks, mom and dad, but
like Excel sheets.
But do you feel like they knew that that's where your heart was?
You can imagine.
They did, yeah. They did.
I'm imagining like his office chair is like a race car seat. You know what I mean? Like, he has like a race car thing on his
I
desk.
got one of those. But from one thing led to another, always remained in the racing world.
Yeah.
Got into instructing, so I got to meet a lot of people, make a lot of connections.
Is that a thing you get invited to do, or is that a thing you say, "Hey, do you have any spots for instructors?" Like, how does that?
No, it's more. It happens organically. It's just more that you're racing. You kind of know what you're doing in theory, and you want to help out other people, right? So it's always kind of giving back into that community. So you could get there are some guys that make a living just doing driver coaching. So I did some of that for quite a bit. Met a lot of cool people. A lot of opportunities came out of that. I did a lot of work for different manufacturers on like ride and drive activation programs where people come out and experience the cars in different areas. So that was all kind of being put together at the same time, but I didn't really know exactly where it was going to go just yet, right? And then from 2005 to 2006, a really good friend of mine, which owned SCCA at the time, founded by his father back then.
Got it.
I was always instructing with them, and then it became to more helping him run the events, and so learned a lot from him. He was a dear friend of mine. He's passed away since, but that kind of went on simultaneously at the same time, and it came on in a bigger capacity. And I got the company from the family after he passed on, and we didn't rebrand, but we rejuvenated the brand a little bit more, and we went from doing 12, 13 events to now we have like 60 events in a year.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's been quite a journey since 2016. Very thankful for the opportunities I've gotten. Very thankful for all the people that have gotten me here and learned from them. But at the end of the day, it's my way of giving back to the community and getting more people involved in the sport.
Well, and then you're honoring the legacy too.
Yeah,
of your friend.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Stay close, but still with the family, and they're phenomenal people, and definitely grateful for the opportunity that they trusted me with it.
Everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.